Welcome back to another episode from Simply Awesome Planet. This is a heartfelt video about a very special cat that just simply knew when it was someone's time to go. Here is the unbelievable story. Steer House is a place of care. It sits in Providence, Rhode Island. People come here for many reasons. Some need help with daily life. Others are facing the end of their journey. It is a home filled with dedicated nurses and doctors. They work hard to provide comfort and dignity. The halls are usually quiet, filled with the gentle sounds of life in its later chapters. It is a place where small kindnesses mean everything. A warm blanket, a soft-spoken word, a hand to hold. These simple acts are the foundation of the care provided here. Into this world came a small kitten. He was one of several cats adopted from a local animal shelter. The staff hoped they would bring some cheer to the residents. They named him Oscar. He was not a particularly friendly cat at first. He seemed a bit aloof, a bit standoffish. He would often hiss at people who tried to pet him. Oscar kept to himself, exploring the nooks and crannies of the nursing home. He was just another cat in a building full of people, an ordinary feline addition to the environment, or so everyone thought at the time. The third floor of Steer House was dedicated to patients with advanced dementia. It was a place where communication was often difficult. Residents lived in their own worlds, lost in the fog of their memories. The staff learned to read nonverbal cues, a smile, a frown, a restless movement. These were the languages they understood. Oscar, in his own silent way, seemed to fit right in. He moved through this world of quiet confusion with a purpose that no one yet understood. He was an ordinary cat in an extraordinary place, about to reveal a gift that no one could have ever predicted. It started slowly. The staff began to notice a pattern. It was a strange and quiet routine that Oscar had developed. He would make his rounds each day, just like the doctors and nurses. He would walk from room to room, sniffing the air, observing the residents. He would enter a room, give the patient a quick look, and then move on. Most of the time, he showed little interest. He was just checking in, it seemed. But sometimes, he would stop. He would choose a specific room. He would hop onto the bed of a resident and curl up beside them. He would not leave. He would stay there for hours, a quiet and steadfast companion. The staff found this odd. Oscar was not known for being affectionate. He did not usually seek out human contact. The pattern became undeniable. The residents Oscar chose to visit were always the ones who were in their final hours of life. It was uncanny. A patient could seem stable with no immediate signs of decline. But if Oscar got on their bed, it was a sign the staff learned to trust. This was not a coincidence. It happened again and again. Over time, Oscar accurately predicted the passing of dozens of residents. He was never wrong. He was not a grim reaper. He was something else entirely. He was a guide, a source of comfort. He was providing a service that no human could. He was offering companionship at the most critical moment, a quiet presence in the face of the great unknown. Oscar's process was gentle and respectful. He did not seem distressed or agitated. He simply seemed to know that his presence was needed. He would hop onto the bed, sometimes snuggling against the person's leg or curling up by their head. There, he would remain, a warm and living weight. He would often purr, a soft, rumbling sound that filled the quiet room. His purr was a vibration of peace, a sound of contentment in a space often filled with anxiety and sadness. He was a silent sentinel, guarding the transition from one state of being to the next. His vigil was unwavering. He would stay with the person through their final moments. He would not be distracted by the comings and goings of family members or staff. If a family member arrived and asked him to leave, he would often protest with a hiss, as if to say his job was not yet done. He seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. He was there to provide a specific kind of comfort, one that required his full attention. He was a small creature performing a task of immense significance, offering his silent support until the very end. Once the resident had passed away, Oscar's job was finished. He would sit up, look around, and then quietly hop off the bed. He would then leave the room and resume his normal cat activities. It was as if a switch had been flipped. His duty was complete. He would go find a sunny spot to nap or seek out a snack from a friendly nurse. There was no lingering sadness in his demeanor. He had simply done what he was there to do. This ritual had a profound effect on everyone who witnessed it. For the dying, he was a source of warmth and peace. Many patients in their final hours are unable to communicate, but they can still feel. They can feel the warmth of a small body next to them. They can hear the gentle purring. For them, Oscar was a final, living connection to the world. He was a reminder that they were not alone. He was a furry, purring angel who stayed by their side, offering comfort when it was needed most. One story that stands out is that of a woman I will call Mrs. K. She had a blood clot in her leg that was causing her immense pain. She was not a cat person. In fact, she had always been quite vocal about her dislike for them. The staff knew this, so they tried to keep Oscar out of her room. But Oscar was persistent. He knew where he was needed. He would sit outside her door waiting for a chance to slip inside. He seemed to understand that his mission was more important than her past preferences. One day, Oscar managed to get into her room. The staff expected Mrs. K to be upset. They rushed in, ready to remove him. But instead of fear or annoyance, they saw something else. Oscar had curled up on her bed, his body pressed against her cold leg, and Mrs. K was not yelling. She was gently stroking his back. A small smile was on her face. In that moment of pain and fear, she had found an unexpected source of comfort. The cat she never wanted became the companion she desperately needed. The family of Mrs. K was incredibly grateful. They told me later that they couldn't explain it. Their mother, who had always shooed cats away, had found peace with Oscar. They said it was as if the cat knew exactly what she needed. He didn't just comfort her emotionally, his warm body seemed to soothe the physical pain in her leg. They were thankful that in her final hours, she had this small, furry creature to keep her company. He was a gift they never expected, a final act of kindness for their mother. Oscar stayed with Mrs. K until she passed away peacefully. Her family was by her side, but they made sure Oscar had his space too. They recognized the special bond that had formed in those last hours. This story and many others like it showed us that Oscar's gift transcended personal preferences. It was a primal, fundamental form of comfort. It was about one living being offering solace to another at the threshold of death. It was a lesson in compassion that came from the most unlikely of teachers. As a geriatrician working at Steer House, I was initially skeptical. I am a man of science. I look for evidence and logical explanations. The idea of a cat predicting death sounded like a heartwarming story, but not something to be taken seriously from a medical standpoint. Honestly, I thought the staff was simply reading too much into the behavior of an ordinary cat. So, I decided to document Oscar's actions myself. I started keeping a record of his visits. I noted which patients he chose and the timing of their deaths. I cross-referenced his behavior with the medical charts, but the more I observed, the more I realized that the staff was right. Oscar's predictions were not random, they were incredibly accurate. He had successfully predicted more than 25 deaths by the time I began my serious investigation. The evidence was right in front of me. My scientific mind struggled to reconcile what I was seeing. There was no clear medical reason for his ability. Was he smelling something? Was he sensing some biochemical change that we humans could not? I wrote an article about him for the New England Journal of Medicine. I wanted to share this phenomenon with the wider medical community. I described his behavior as objectively as I could. I presented the facts as I had observed them. The story captured the public's imagination, bringing international attention to this small cat in Rhode Island. Witnessing Oscar's work changed my perspective on end-of-life care. It taught me that there are things science cannot easily explain. It showed me that comfort and compassion can come from unexpected sources. As a doctor, my job is to treat illness and manage symptoms. But Oscar reminded me that there is more to care than just medicine. There is the human, or in this case, feline touch. He taught me to look beyond the charts and the data and to appreciate the profound mysteries of life and death that unfold every day in places like Steer House. Many people have tried to explain Oscar's incredible ability. The most common scientific theory revolves around his sense of smell. Cats have a sense of smell that is far superior to ours. It is possible that dying cells release certain chemicals, known as ketones, which have a distinct odor. Perhaps Oscar was able to detect these subtle scents that were imperceptible to the human nose. This would be a logical, biological explanation for his behavior. He wasn't predicting death in a mystical sense, he was reacting to a physical change. Another theory suggests he was responding to the stillness of the patients. People who are near the end of life often move very little. A cat looking for a peaceful place to nap might naturally be drawn to a person who is exceptionally still. Oscar was not a particularly social cat, so seeking out the quietest person in the room makes a certain kind of sense. This explanation focuses more on his feline instincts for comfort and safety, rather than a supernatural ability. However, these theories do not fully explain everything. For instance, why Oscar and not the other cats at Steer House? There were other felines living there, but none of them displayed this behavior. Why did he only choose people who were hours away from death, and not those who were simply sleeping soundly? And what about his persistence? He would stay for hours. even when the room became busy with family and staff. This goes beyond simply finding a quiet place to nap. His actions seem to have a purpose. In the end, the true reason for Oscar's gift remains a mystery. Perhaps it is a combination of factors, a keen sense of smell, an intuitive understanding of human stillness, and something more, something we cannot measure or define. Maybe we don't need to have a perfect scientific explanation. The beauty of Oscar's story is not just in the how, but in the what. What he did was provide comfort, peace, and a sense of profound connection at a time when people feel most alone. The mystery is part of what makes his story so powerful and enduring. For the nurses and caregivers at Steer House, Oscar was more than just a pet. He became an important member of the care team. They learned to trust his judgment implicitly. His presence on a patient's bed was a clear and reliable signal. It helped them prepare, both practically and emotionally. It gave them time to notify families, allowing for final goodbyes that might otherwise have been missed. This was an invaluable service, reducing the chance that anyone would die alone. He was their little furry colleague working the most difficult shift of all. Oscar's work also provided a unique form of emotional support for the staff. Working in end-of-life care is incredibly demanding. It takes a heavy emotional toll. Seeing Oscar provide such gentle, unwavering comfort was a source of solace for the nurses. It was a beautiful thing to witness in a place so often touched by sadness. He reminded them that their work was about more than just medical procedures. It was about providing compassion. Oscar embodied that ideal in its purest form, and it helped lift their spirits on the toughest days. He also became a symbol of the home's philosophy of care. Steer House prides itself on creating a home-like, compassionate environment. Oscar was the living embodiment of that mission. His story, once it became public, drew attention to the importance of this kind of care. It highlighted the value of therapy animals and the small, humanizing touches that can make such a difference in a person's final days. He wasn't just a cat, he was a testament to the home's commitment to dignity and peace for its residents. The staff also felt a great sense of pride in their unique cat. They were protective of him and his story. When news crews and visitors came, the nurses made sure Oscar was not overwhelmed. They understood that he was a sensitive creature doing important work. He was their cat, their partner in care. His presence forged a stronger sense of community among the staff. They shared in this strange and beautiful secret, this little miracle that walked their halls. Oscar's impact was felt not just by the patients, but by every single person who worked on the third floor. Oscar's story teaches us a profound lesson about companionship. In our modern world, we often think of companionship in human terms. We seek it from friends, family, and partners. But Oscar showed us that a deep, meaningful connection can be found in the most unexpected places. He demonstrated that the simple, silent presence of another living being can be a powerful antidote to fear and loneliness. He couldn't speak our language, but he communicated in a way that was universally understood, through warmth, presence, and unwavering support. His vigil also forces us to confront our own views on death and dying. In our society, death is often hidden away. It is seen as a medical failure, something to be fought at all costs. Oscar approached death differently. He did not see it as something to fear. He saw it as a time when his comfort was needed most. He treated the act of dying with a quiet dignity and acceptance. He showed us that the end of life can be a peaceful transition, not just a moment of loss. He taught us to be present for it, not to turn away. Furthermore, Oscar's story highlights the importance of intuition and empathy. He operated on a level of knowing that we cannot fully grasp. He was attuned to the needs of others in a way that went beyond logic or training. It is a reminder that in caregiving, empathy is just as important as expertise. We need to listen not just with our ears but with our hearts. We need to be open to the subtle cues and unspoken needs of those around us. Oscar was a master of this intuitive care, a model of empathy for us all. Ultimately, the lesson from this small cat is one of humility. We, as humans, often think we have all the answers. We rely on our technology, our science, and our intellect. But a small tabby cat in a nursing home showed us that there are forces and connections in the world that we do not fully understand. He reminded us that some of the greatest gifts come in the smallest packages. Oscar's life was a simple one, but his legacy is a powerful reminder to live with compassion, to face life's final chapter with dignity, and to never underestimate the power of a purr. Oscar the cat passed away in 2022. He lived a long life filled with purpose. He is no longer walking the halls of Steer House, but his legacy lives on. His story has been told around the world. It has touched the hearts of millions. It has started important conversations about end-of-life care, about the role of animals in therapy, and about the nature of compassion. He was just one small cat, but his impact was immense. He left a paw print on the world that will not soon fade. His story provides a message of hope. It shows that even in the face of death, there can be beauty, peace, and connection. The spirit of Oscar continues to inspire. He has encouraged other nursing homes and hospitals to embrace the healing power of animals. His story is a powerful example of how pets can improve the quality of life for the elderly and the ill. In the end, Oscar's tale is a simple one. It is a story about a cat who comforted the dying, but it is also a story about all of us. It is about our need for connection, our search for meaning, and our desire for a peaceful end. Oscar showed us that the most profound acts of love often require no words at all. They just require us to show up, to be present, and to offer our warmth to another living being. It is a lesson in empathy, a legacy of compassion, and a story that will continue to comfort and inspire for years to come. Well, that's the heartwarming story about Oscar. Thanks for visiting Simply Awesome Planet, and please subscribe for more incredible stories from the animal kingdom. Until next time, my friends, see you next time.